Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about finishing, how to finish certain carvings that you have maybe sitting on your shelf and you're trying to figure out how could I finish this to look right. Now I have a couple of ways that I like to finish my carvings and I'm going to show them to you today. First thing I recommend, like on this guy right here I just finished up a while back, is when you get done handling him, take him and wash him really good. Get him wet, not soaking wet, but just run him over the sink a little bit, and then get you some over-the-counter soap, dish soap, and put it in your hand, make a good lather. And then just lather him up really good. And then rinse him off, and then set him on the paper towel or something there and let him dry from there. Now there are some people who will wash it and then they'll go right into painting. And so people like that type of look. There's a lot of different ways you can finish a carving out here. And so when you go to shows, when you go to seminars or whatever out here, ask how they finish their carvings and try them, and you might find the one that you like. Now, one of the first things that I tried, the first thing that I do is I come up, Mike Shipley gave me this recipe years ago, and a lot of people use it. So if you want to see how I mix this particular mixture, you can go to one of my videos that talks about that, and you can go in the library there and search that up and find this particular recipe that I've got for you. Another way too, of course, people do is painting a project. Now I use acrylic paints and I use a very thin wash, and what I use is little pill containers that you can get from your local supplier like Uniline or place like that. Now when I'm saying these names, I'm not getting sponsored by any of these today that I'm talking to you about, but those are just what I found that works for me. And so I'll put in my paints, blacks, reds, greens, and whatever, in individual pill bottles. And then I fill them up with halfway with water. And then I put about 10 to 12 or 15 drops of paint in, shake it up really good. And then I try it out to see the consistency of it. If it's too dark, I'll put more water in. If it needs to be darker, I'll put more paint in. And then I test it again. If I like that consistency, then I stay with that. But whenever you paint with acrylics, they dry very chalky. It looks pretty bad. It looks very faded. It looks like it's been sitting out in the sun. And it looks like it's been baked a lot of times. But again, this is where this solution comes in that I showed you earlier about dipping them. And now what I do is I dip these things in the solution in the bucket. I'll let that sit on the table or somewhere and let that drip for about a couple of minutes and soak in. And then I'll take my towels and I dab it. Now I don't rub, but I dab all that excess off. And then when it dries, 2 or 3 days later from then, if I want a little bit of a gleam to it, a sheen to it, I'll use a semi-gloss spray. But I don't want to look plasticky. But I just want enough sheen on there just to catch a little light. Another way too, this is a hubba that I did some years ago, and this was just natural stain right out of the can, and and that's just the way I learned. I mean, I was trying different things, and so you may be out there, you may try different things, and that's what I did. Is I just slapped it on with a paintbrush and wiped off the excess, and sometime I might go back and redress this guy and bring him back to life a little bit. But you can see over the years it's kind of faded and there's splotches here and there. So you're going to learn as you progress in your carving and as you're finishing. Another way too is when you get done with the carving. Now this is an Indian that I did, and there is a way that I found out recently that I really like, and that is using feed wax. Now I'm not being promoted by this company, but it's Howard Feed Wax. And what we'll do, and we're going to demonstrate here, I'm going to put down the paper towel here, but it doesn't get on everywhere. And I shake it up really good and make sure it's all really good and mixed up in there. And then I take a little bit in my hand and I start lathering it up just like you would do anything. And I lather this guy up and try to get much on him as you can. And put it on there very liberally, all right? And get it in the cracks and crevices and everywhere. And so as you get it all over him, you're going to rub this in. And then you're going to let this set for about 20 minutes. And then from that point on, when you let it sit for about 20 minutes, you're going to take a brush and put a sheen to it. And boy, it is really nice, natural sheen. and nothing, it doesn't take away from the carving itself. It shows you all the wood grain. It shows you all your cut marks that you made with your tools. And I like this. I'm really liking this. So I'm sure there's people out here who has already been doing this for quite some time, but some of us are still behind the door. We're still learning. And so, but anyway, I found this out to be a great finishing product for you to have. And also too, you can use this on fireplace mantles if you want to use it to give a fireplace mantle a nice looking sheen on whatever you're carved there. So anyway, we're going to let this set for a second or two and we'll be right back. All right, so we're back now. We have just put our coat of wax on our Indian here. And make sure that when you get ready, you can either use a cloth like an old t-shirt, but make sure it's a good cotton cloth t-shirt. You can do it that way by rubbing on this guy here, or get you a good brush like I did the other day. Make sure it's good and clean though, and I put it on here to use only for carving, so that way someone else doesn't pick it up and use it for other things. So we're going to pick him up here now, and we're going to just start brushing over this guy. Now this is going to take a little time, and what we're doing is the heat from the brush and the rubbing on it brings the gleam to this guy. It just puts a nice little sheen on there, and it doesn't detract from the carving or anything like that there. And get it everywhere the brush can get, because that wax builds up in there. Now if you want to, you can leave this wax on overnight, let it set. If you want to put another layer on it to give it more of a sheen, then do the same thing. Put it on, let it set for 20 minutes or more, and then work it out with a brush or a good cloth. I preferably like the brush better because it gives me quicker results. But again, that's up to you. So you can spend quite a bit of time on this guy here and getting all that wax that was put in there. And the more you do it, the more it's going to shine. And I would say just give this a try and see how you like it. Again, there's hundreds of different ways to finish carvings out here. And just enjoy and learn and inquire of other carvers out here about how to finish a project, and stay with one or two ways of doing it. But give it a try, and don't be afraid to get out of your comfort zone of trying this too. And because some people just leave them unpainted, but I would put some type of a finish on it if I were you at the end of the day. All right. So anyway, you can see there in the camera how he looks nice there, and he's a nice looking Indian there. So this is going to be a down the road future project for the channel, but I wanted to show you how he looks with just a natural wax finish. Well, all right, folks, that's it for today. I thank you for joining us today, and happy carving to you, and we'll see you soon.